Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday night segment of The Outer Realm. We are broadcasting on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM from the Gulf Coast, 107.7 FM from beautiful New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee who have been a part of our journey for the last several years. So thank you, Folgers. We couldn't do it without you, nor would we want to. Also, big thank you to Justin Snicker, a.k.a. Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon, for the contribution of his time, his music, and his voice for the intro you just heard. He is an award-winning composer of Halloween horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music, which can be found on all of your favorite music streaming platforms. Also, big thanks to Steve McGinnis, the artist behind the logos here at the show. Check him out on Facebook and Instagram. Also specializes in the horror genre and Halloween genre, but does incredible commission pieces of any type. So, okay, guys, this is the second half of the one you've all been waiting for. I got so many messages about this. It's just mind blowing. I think Lorilei Potvin, who's joining me tonight, I think she and I hit on something with this series because you guys just go crazy for this stuff. It's insane. But it's going to be delving into the second half of Paul McCartney. This time we're going to go a little bit deeper and conspiratorial because we're getting into Andrew Gough's very well-researched article, which includes... And he alleges that the Beatles had a satanic or Illuminati connection. And you see it as you go through. But please, again, remember, we are just going through an article. We are giving our points of views. Please just judge for yourself. Do your own research. It's so important. I really want to stress that. So we are the messengers, and we are not just pulling this out of here. We're just going to go through this article, share it with you. The link is listed in the show description for those who want to delve a little bit deeper, and I will leave it right there. So without further ado, my friend and co-host for the evening, Lorilei Potvin. Hello.
Oh, I haven't talked all night, so hopefully my voice is going to hold out. You're sniffling and I have no voice.
Oh, we're in rough shape, guys, but we love you. We're here. So we are here.
I wasn't going to not do it because this is so intriguing, this topic. And like you said, everybody, you got so many messages about this afterwards. And with you and I, with the way we book our shows, we would be able to do it for another at least couple months down the road. So I said I'd come in.
It's true. It's true. And you know what? I don't know what it is. What is it you think makes like just drives people to want to know more about this stuff? What is it with celebrities? And the
you
whole
know
allure?
what it is? Sorry, I've got a bit of a delay, guys. I apologize.
Okay.
I think what it is people. You know what? A lot of people don't even leave their own backyards, or we're all living regular normie lives. I will say that with no disrespect. And we see these people and it's splattered all over the place. It looks like they're living these glamorous, amazing lives. And they just seem to be so on point and perfect. They do, right?
Yeah.
The magazines, the music, concerts, everything. And I think when there's a bit of conspiracy thrown in, and this band's been around for a long time, the Beatles, even though they're not together, their music still lives on. And so people have heard the stories and are going, could it be true? Could it not? Right?
I know. Everybody loves a good conspiracy, I think. And we have to remember that this is pretty much what we're talking about here is something that is alleged. I had to even put that in, in the the title because
Did you?
like not the scrolling one. Yeah, alleged connections. I put that in on the platforms because I don't want to say yes, this is a thing. I mean nowadays it's like I don't know who is it, but it's, yeah, yes.
I'm so floored about them that Paul Walker, that we showed the first time we were talking about all this. Sorry, I'm going to mute my phone because people always love to send me messages when I'm live. So
Of course, like
I don't know what to do. So that Paul Walker video, you guys weren't here. We showed it was on Beyond the Outer Realm. Before we kind of did a few celebrities, and then we dug into Paul McCartney.
yeah.
And what happened was I found this video years ago and I wasn't looking for it. But when I find videos like this, I download them and I save them and they disappear. And for those that hadn't seen it, Paul Walker obviously was deceased. This is before AI. And it's a gentleman that was filming people at the airport. And he runs into this guy and is a dead ringer for Paul Walker, including his voice. Everything. And I've shown it
chasing him, wasn't he? Like, wasn't he chasing Paul Walker around?
And the guy was trying to get away.
I remember that.
Remember, he kept saying, "Oh, I get that all the time," and then he was like just making a dash for it because he didn't want to talk to him. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. That was good. I remember that.
There's even a big conspiracy out there right now about Charlie Walker, or Charlie. God, I named it Kirk. That I said Walker, Kirk. That is he still alive? There's a YouTuber by the name of Jesse on Fire that's doing a series, and at first I thought he was crazy, and I kept hearing more and more about it. I started watching and went, I don't know if I could say no, that's not true. So,
oh my God, I mean nowadays, right? I mean nowadays it's really hard. It's really difficult because you're getting into even technology and things like that, cloning and so on. Like it's just so much, fun stuff out there to delve into. But I mean, witness protection, things like that's always been around. So who knows? Like even Michael Jackson, like when this one's over, when this one's over, we're gonna have to sit back and go, okay, what's the next juicy one? Because there's a lot out there. We could be doing this for ages.
We could. That's what I was going to add. I won't say his name because YouTube doesn't like it, but I'll call him Mr. Jeffy. And the files that came out, there's been some pictures that have come out, and I don't know. It could be them. You never know, right? That's not even the music industry, but when people, I think, pass away with mysterious circumstances, or like we have with the Beatles, who have put more than enough, I don't want to call them clues or hints, but strangeness, we'll say high strangeness in their music lyrics, their album covers, and what it gets people thinking. Because I think a lot of people are waking up nowadays and realizing, it's not like when people listen to Walter Cronkite, if you're old enough to remember him back in the day, your parents.
Sadly, yes. Yes, sadly, I'm that old.
Oh, I have to highlight this comment. This is awesome.
Yeah, of course.
Wayne says, "I'm the fake Wayne. The real Wayne passed when he was 4, and I was brought in as a child to replace him."
Oh my God! Yeah, I mean, the story was when he was on his 4th birthday.
Right.
It's like he had this realization. He goes, "Oh my God, I'm a child," and threw up all over the place. I was just like,
"Oh, okay."
That's why he jokes about it. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. I've studied these things because I've studied near-death experiences for over 40 years, and I'm extremely fascinated by children who remember their previous lives. And then, and it's on video, kids saying, "Well, I remember, you're not my mother." No, I'm talking about your mother. Yeah.
I don't know. This was definitely strange because he was wide awake. It was his birthday party. He had friends and everything. And it's like something hit him and he goes, "Oh my God, I'm a child." And
oh my God,
everybody went home. Yeah,
that's terrifying.
It is.
Yeah,
it is. And how many decades later, it's just like you don't forget that. It's insane.
No, definitely not.
Oh, anyway, we got a comment on the last show, and I thought we would address it because it was very, very detailed. Like this man basically says, look, key findings from forensic analysis, which is like formant frequency, resonant frequencies, show that they did a voice from the song I Saw Her Standing There. Recordings from 1963 and live performances in later years in 2002. And they are considered biologically unique and very stable, even with aging. So as they get older. So 1963 versus 2002 shows identical harmonic structure and frequency range. 53% match, though. 53% match. And it goes into different ones. So I don't know.
And then I did some research, and what I was told in the research I did and I found was that there have been voice comparisons made, but it's never been done professionally, like in a scientific studio to compare the two. And then even with Andrew Gough's article, if memory serves me right, I just reread the whole thing before we went live, that they're not finding a positive match, right? So to me, I would think if you really want it to hold water, you'd need to do it with a controlled setting, proper audio studio, and have, the proper things in place to measure it, right? Because here we got conflicting stories again. Is it or isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's true. And Wayne makes a good point. He goes, if you have enough money, you can buy the results you want to have.
You're right, Wayne.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I think hi, Michelle. I think when you were looking at the fact that this was a huge money-making machine, the Beatles itself as an entity, you're not going to, I mean, whether he died, whether he didn't die, and he was just, just wanted to get out of, current life and go into hiding, as we'll get into that later, whatever the case may be. There were a lot of people that came forward to make this happen. If this is a thing, right down to, changing the appearance a little bit, so on and so forth. I think we covered that in the last show. And why would all of his bandmates leave all of these little clues everywhere? And why would Billy Shears himself come out and write a memoir about it?
He did, yeah. That's how I feel. You guys, I gotta apologize. I don't know why it's so dark. I have like a light on. I got lights here right behind me. But I'm gonna let you know if I'm a little choppy, because I've noticed a little bit. I apologize, but I think we're heading into almost the tail end of 50 centimeters of snow since yesterday. We got a major snowstorm, so I'll apologize just to let you know.
God.
But that's what I'm saying.
With a flashlight.
Yes. Well, that's what I'm saying. After I'd read the article, I think it was in January? I think it was in October when you first sent it to me. So I reread the whole thing again really carefully tonight, and it's well worth the read, guys. It really, really is. And it just seems like there was fingerprints that were compared, even like in that article. There were all kinds of things. And plus, again, I understand that a lot of people need to be involved for something like this to happen. All I'm going to say, and I think Wayne kind of coined the phrase that if you have enough money, you can make anything happen, right? And that can happen if you got a lot of money and you don't know who they were under or who was controlling them.
100%. And the corporate machine would not let you go. I mean, you have to understand, in any bit of media, if you are a success, you have producers, you have managers, you have people who are investors. When you're getting into these bands that are this big, who are handling these large venues, you have the music industry itself. It's a behemoth. It is a behemoth. They decide when you eat, when you sleep, what you eat, if you eat, where you're going. I mean, it's, I think you can go back even to Elvis Presley, and that should be one we covered, right? I mean, his manager, because his manager couldn't leave the country, he never let Elvis leave the country. And Elvis just assumed he was told, well, nobody's interested in you on the other side of the world. Wow. So, okay. He never left here aside to go into the military. He never toured on the outside of the United States.
I didn't know
Maybe
that.
Canada, like North America. Yeah. Yeah. So apparently that was a thing. So it goes to show, the governing and ruling party decides, what is going to happen to you. So where I thought we would pick up, of course, is a part of the article that says their Satanic Majesty's request. So when you start getting into that, In the memoirs of Billy Shear, he basically goes on to say that they had been um, that the band would be used to overthrow Christianity in preparation for more meaningful spirituality in a one world government. This was way back then. I'm having
Yeah.
a freaking deja vu, though. Just like right now, I think I just did a time warp.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, and I mean, Tavistock, where have I heard? Part of Tavistock, worldwide mind control. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Right. This has just come up again recently in the news, right? Okay. So I'll leave that there.
Mhm.
So their worldwide mind control operation that is still succeeding today with a committee of 300 resources.
Mhm.
So Billy goes on to say, replacing the most adored celebrity anywhere was only possible by the powerful central organization that directed national governments to stay out of the way. Okay. So a lot of this perpetuated the McCartney myth. And Billy continues to fully comprehend Paul's replacement is to know that we are still being manipulated by government and legacy media under the direction of a worldwide cabal. Okay. This is out
Yeah.
of Billy's own mouth. Like he wrote this.
Yep. Yep. And you know what? Like I say, he did write all this stuff. And then, like I said, he really got into ICL. He really got into a lot of I don't like the word conspiracy. I prefer
Yeah.
a truth seeking. But you know what? When someone writes something really well, and I know I've said this many times when we've done this show together, as have you, he's done his homework and he's brought the receipts about what he's talking about. And he does not tell you what to believe either, which is
That's
a good
right.
thing. He just presents the information that he's found. Right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. So that's,
I'm trying to get caught up with you here. If you see me scrolling,
yeah.
are you
No, no,
halfway down?
yeah, that's okay. Do you want me to put it up on the screen, Lorilei? Would that be
Sure,
okay?
that'd be great.
Okay.
I know you did that the other time. It was great because I got
Okay,
it,
I
but
can
I'm scrolling
remember.
away on here and I'm going, I read that. Now, where is the article?
I'm old, Lorilei.
Thank you.
and I'm
Thank you.
feeling it tonight.
Yes.
So, okay, so here it is, guys.
Perfect.
So Tavistock was relentless in its efforts to ensure the success of the counterculture promoting anti-Christian Beatles. So basically, a striking example is a flying ballet sketch was staged at the London Palladium where the band was hoisted through the air and what appeared to be thousands of adoring fans. In truth, the performance took place in isolation, yet headlines blared, police hold back 1,000 squealing teenagers.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, so here we are. That's kind of cool, though.
It is. Yeah.
So then we get into similarly, the Beatles arrived at Kennedy Airport where they were greeted in throngs of screaming teenagers, bussed in from the Bronx and paid to stage the hysteria. So, I mean, it gets into all of this, right? And then it becomes clear why the powers behind the scenes would not allow the commercial and cultural juggernaut to end with Paul's death. They were not the company here. Okay, as I'm just seeing me, he's going over here. We're not just borrowing from, but we're possibly the architects of the entire present fiction is fact and fact is fiction. Again, having a deja vu. So it clearly, again, indicates, again, I'm not trying to, because it's been in the news recently, I just don't want to keep flagging it and pushing the envelope, but they managed to shape the Beatles in their own image. A once cherished band began to promote anti-Christian values and endorse hard drug use.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. Now that, that I see kind of what's going on, I read this and it's just like, did I just read something like this like the other day?
Yes. Yes.
Right. So anyway, as we go in, it goes, suddenly someone this is from Lucy in the Sky at Diamonds.
Yeah.
Suddenly someone is there in the turnstile, the girl with the kaleidoscope eyes, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Mm-hmm. So again, we just start moving down a little bit. So the Monterey Pop Festival in the US, a special LSD known as Monterey Purple, was provided to droves of concert goers for free. Paul McCartney and Mick Jagger were on the board of directors of this. So we'll kind of go in. Years later, John grappled with his past while living under the watchful eye of his partner. Some even called her his minder, Others
Yes.
have called her his handler, right? Right?
Yes.
Yoko Ono, who Tony Cox, Yoko's first husband, said had previously attempted suicide, had been placed in a mental institution. In a 1980 Playboy interview shortly before his assassination, John boldly stated, "We must always remember to thank the CIA and Army for," said three initials, because that's what people forget, as the comment alluded to the three-letter organization's use of the three-letter drug and the infamous MK program designed to create mind controlled individuals. So as you can see, we just start going along, but they start singing about this. So this,
Yes.
right? And this Rolling Stones also appear to be under satanic influences. Their archaic album, their Satanic Majesty's requests in songs like Sympathy for the Devil. Like there's all kinds of this stuff. And this is like what, 1968?
Yep. hmm And don't you wonder too, because I forget what the name of the book is. I've seen it in a couple book clubs, but it was written about the 60s and exactly what went on. It was not the free love movement. And if you think about it, right, it was all about peace and love and using recreational substances, I'll say. But if you think about teenagers and young people at that age, how easily programmable they would have been, especially if they're utilizing a lot of, we'll say, fun time recreational substances. And then it was discovered too. I remember this as a little kid. It was a big to-do about the subliminal programming, even in TV commercials and TV, where they'd flash it for 1 second. Like, yeah, and think now those are all our seniors now, believe it or not. But that where I'm going with this is, yeah, that's I think when they really started the hardcore programming of the population around the world. I believe it.
That's an early start because we're like almost what, 50 years, close to 50 years later. I'm sorry when I say I'm having a deja vu.
Yep.
This really is you feel like you're just reliving it, you know.
hmm
But so we'll go in. The Stones also appear to have expressed their disapproval over Billy as Paul's replacement. Not quite sure what they had to do with it, but they didn't like it either. So anyway, um, something happened to me yesterday, something I can't speak of right away. He don't know if it's right or wrong. Maybe he should tell someone. He's just not sure what it is or if it's against the law. So something happened to me yesterday, Between the Buttons, 1967.
Right.
So but you know, so we'll go through down a little bit again. And the memoirs of Billy Shears, Billy adds, it played perfectly into the hands of the secret committee of 300. As the snitch said, with the Beatles in their right hand and the Stones in their left, they would transform the whole world. So, you know, now we're just getting into, you know, more stuff with respects to, you know, the different songs and such. But the part I'll mention was a song linked to the day John supposedly learned. So Ruby Tuesday, a song linked to the day John supposedly learned of Paul's alleged, see right here, alleged death. And it seemed that the Rolling Stones were suddenly commenting on these significant events in their own life. So goodbye, Ruby Tuesday. Who could hang a name on you when you change with every new day? That's Ruby Tuesday, and that's Rolling Stones again.
hmm
So again, we're getting into like now you have a whole other group of people who are aware of this amazingly enough.
You know what I was going to add though? Okay, so
Yeah.
even in this day and age, now, depending on what you're watching, how many even just say YouTubers are always start their show off with, I'm not depressed. I'm very happy with my life. If something happens to me, I did not do this to myself. And they start talking about this. But the reason I say this is I almost feel like because this really did happen, there were so many people involved. I
Mhm.
think most of them knew if you spoke, you might as well kiss yourself goodbye because
Yeah.
that's what would happen, right? Now, if
Yeah.
they'd all banded together, the strength in numbers, but
Mhm.
I think they keep using the powers that be the same tricks because they work, right? They
Yeah.
always work. Yeah, just
Yeah.
change the name of the story. And I think
Yeah.
that's why people aren't speaking up. Some did. Some people lost their lives in here with this story. Now, again, nobody was alleged to have intentionally lost their lives, but there were some unusual deaths around the Beatles.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Were they going to speak up? You never know.
Well, to have a whole other group who were the rebels, at the time, who came forward with their disdain for all of this. But here's where it gets interesting. And anybody who knows who Jimmy Savile is,
Well, yes.
would know. And those of you who don't should Google him. Okay.
But be prepared.
Be prepared. All right. Yes, be prepared. So, here, it says it right here.
Yeah, it says it right there, black and white.
It's a medication. Anyway, the Beatles also appeared to have been close to the UK's highest profile, right there. There's the word. I don't even know if I can't really say it without flagging us.
I've heard other words you can use, PDF.
Okay.
File, right. But that was acceptable apparently.
Okay. We'll go with that. Lorelei's up on the lingo. We'll let Lorilei fill in the blanks. Anyway.
I just research a lot of this stuff. That's why.
Oh my God. But he was also an alleged Satanist. So he was a notorious figure whose public persona as a charming television presenter masked a deeply troubling reality. So we're going to leave that right there as to, what he is, what he did. And his exploitation of power and influence left a lasting scar on countless lives. So, there he is.
Creepy guy.
That picture doesn't do him justice at all. Anyway, the dawn of modern religious Satanism can be traced to the seismic moment of 1966 when, of course, Anton LaVey, Church of Satan, all celebrities, not all, but anybody interested. It was a movement. We had Sammy Davis Jr., just to name one. It was really big at that time. Everybody was wearing, the pentagrams and the whole 9 yards. It was a movement. So, in all fairness to that, it is what it is, but it could have been, anybody who was anybody wanted to fall into the whole fad of it all.
Yeah.
But at least that's what we were led to believe. I think now that we are made privy to more of what this is all about. We're aware now. Back then it was just like, oh, okay, this must be the newest statement. Anybody is with the newest statement and it's a cool thing. And realistically, no, it was going on even back then. So yes. Right. So we get into that. We'll skip over that. I'm not going to notoriously get into all this and give them all this credit, but it's not surprising that the Beatles and the Stones had the same sources in common. Satanic sources in common. So it's still unclear if Kenneth Anger, a pioneering underground filmmaker known for his satanic, occult-themed, and avant-garde works, such as the film Lucifer Rising, ever even had direct contact with the Beatles. It could have been he did, but nobody knows for sure. And everybody, again, Aleister Crowley. We know, Jimmy Page bought Aleister Crowley's home at the Boleskine house, right? So it's just like, again, it was just a thing. Everybody was just fell into the allure of all of this. But anyway, people looked at this guy, Kenneth Anger, as Crowley's successor. There's the man right there.
But I have a theory I'm going to throw out here. And again, I can't prove it, but when you dig into these types of things, it seems like, and can it be proven? No, but any famous celebrity, we'll call them, that has really, really made it big, they all talk about the contract they had to sign. They all talk about a sacrifice, and it's mentioned in this article as well. Again, you can't prove it, but there's certainly throughout the years, and I know we're getting into it, but a lot of the symbology that others rumored to have signed the contract also were making too, right? Mm-hmm.
Exactly right. Saying it without really fully saying it.
Just play the game. That's all we can still say. It just got to play the game.
pretty much.
Excuse me.
So we know that this guy had close ties to Mick Jagger and the Stones, who were also part of the same social and artistic milieu as the Beatles. He worked with Jagger in multiple projects, and he was also closely connected to Marianne Faithfull and Anita Pallenberg, both of whom had relationships with Remember the Stones. So at the time, it was through Marianne Faithfull's husband, John Dunbar, that Paul met the art dealer Robert Fraser, who would introduce Paul and the Beatles to the world of London avant-garde. So we get into that a little bit. And Vernon Mosher was apparently a fascinating figure, but he had a pivotal role in preparing the Beatles for their eventual meeting with Anger and the Satanic indoctrination that followed. So we're going to come up ahead. Now, do you remember when we talked about Paul's dreams in the
Yes.
first segment?
Mhm.
Okay. So he goes on. Paul's dream reportedly began in 1965 during a conversation with Mosher. John and Paul were asked when they had made contact with Satan. Paul denied ever having done so, but John admitted it. It was around 15 months before the dreams began.
The contract, right? The contract. See, they got asked, did you sign the contract?
Yeah, right there. Right there.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how the dreams started afterwards, these nightmares he was having.
Mm-hmm.
So it later was revealed that John and Paul had performed a satanic ritual that bound the band to dark forces while in Stockholm, which goes back to 1963. And Billy recounts the chilling events of that infamous event. So here's my question with this. If Paul went with John to do this, Billy recounts the chilling events of that infamous event. So was he there? Which one were we?
Yeah. How does he recount it? Now, that was a really good catch, Michelle, because I'm thinking when was the date? It was in 1963.
Mhm.
Now, I'm not sure when they had the look-alike contest for Paul, and it was when it was Billy around, because I know he supposedly was a talented studio musician and guitar tech and stuff like that. Was he with the band, or is this just something he was told? So that's a really good catch, by the way. Really good catch. How would you know?
Okay. Must be the meds. I'm feeling whimsical, Lorilei. I'm feeling whimsical. So, okay, so there's that. But Billy continued on to say that this man who was, I guess, recounting all of this, John, or conversation with Mosher. Anyway, the man told John and Paul that their show would never be a worldwide sensation until they ceremonially enacted the sacrifice and prayed to Lucifer for his influence. He told them that Lucifer is the god of this world and that his power surpasses all others. So on the night of October 24th, 1963, John and Paul said words, most likely without taking them seriously enough, promising that they would do a sacrifice to quench, Lucifer's appetite, or something along the foolish line as it was put. So right there, it was not taken seriously. And Mosher insisted that Paul's death was not only imminent, but necessary for fulfilling the pact that Paul and John had made. And according to Billy, Mosher even predicted the approximate timing of Paul's death. Further, Billy discusses the network of Satanism and how, via EMI, that they had leveraged it. So he goes on to say, I want you to understand that Satanism, aside from its spiritual effect or religious significance, is a political network used by this world's most eminent social engineers. I do not endorse their rights, but always credit the network in connection with those who made the Beatles the immortal band that it became. Like, wow. He's pretty much saying it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And then it kind of explains in the article how he knew about it. When I went up a little bit, I was reading, and Billy recounts the chilling events of that infamous event. But then he also, in this part, I thought seen that he said he overheard Mosher discussing what had happened during this pact. So I don't know if it's true or not. Wayne had a comment. Do you mind if I pull that up?
Yeah, go ahead.
If it'll show for me. Come on, computer. It will not show. There, go.
All right, there you go.
It was intended to be sacrificed from early days. It would stand to reason that those at the top would be actively looking for a double to replace them after the sacrifice.
Yeah, that would make sense. Hello.
Hello. Hi, Vanessa. I saw you pop in.
No. Yeah, so right there, right what she said. um so and he goes on to add, this whole, as you can see, there's this um whole thing going on, and we get into, of course, the Bohemian Grove, things like that, films by whistleblowers. It went on and on. Not surprisingly, Billy claims that he was invited
Yeah.
to the said grove in the 70s, but he never accepted the offer because the invitation was not extended to his wife at the time, Linda Eastman, who went on to be Linda McCartney, right? Women
Yeah.
are not allowed to enter. So did he enter? We will never know. But it appears that Paul's accidental death was not acceptable to the code, right there, the code, who needed a sacrifice, not an accident, to seal the agreement. And hence, many believe this is why John Lennon was assassinated.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, right? You have to ask yourself, I mean, when you look at all the faithful day that he was shot outside his building, the Dakota, the same building where Roman Polanski's film Rosemary's Baby was filmed. There seems to be a lot of little connections in there as well.
I remember the day he died. I think it was December the 8th. Was it 1980 or 1981? He was assassinated, and then George. It's going to get into a little bit later what happened to George Harrison. Now, interestingly enough, I'm just going to throw this out when we get to these other parts. Why was nothing ever happened to Ringo Starr? Nothing.
Or George Harrison.
Well, George, when we get to it, he was attacked. He was attacked by a fan.
Oh, that's right. And they tried to shoot him, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
So
they go stab him with a knife. He was stabbed repeatedly.
Okay.
Before he got the cancer. So why were all three of them have got this conspiracy or controversy? Yet think about Ringo Starr. Nothing's happened to Ringo Starr.
I think you have to look at who signed.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Was he the one that signed the contract?
You know what? You never know. You never know. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're getting into a lot of different things, like there's so many synchronicities with all of this as to dates and timing and locations. You have to really delve into it and say, okay, yeah, there's definitely something to this.
Yes.
But Jeffrey Giuliano claims in his book, Lennon in America, that he became visibly agitated at a party in California in 1973, smashed mirrors through televisions, blah, 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 blah. Said Polanski's film was to blame. But as fate would have it, he met Yoko Ono years earlier at an art gallery. Roman Polanski and his wife Sharon are known to have attended the exhibition. There's a Dakota.
Yeah.
So again, Chapman later claimed that Satan demanded John Lennon's death, stating he would strip naked, play Beatles records, and pray to Satan for strength. But he wasn't the only murderer connected to Satan and the Beatles. The infamous Charles Manson, of course, blah, blah, blah. We get into all of that, and we get into
Thank God I wasn't a fly on the wall with Chapman sitting there naked playing
oh my God. We don't need to see those things. So we can get into just some of that, but looking like John and Ringo look like they're sharing a secret. Yeah, they're looking a little sketchy in that picture.
Yeah, I think they
are. And of course, Manson obsessed with the Beatles, especially the song Helter Skelter. We know all the history with all of that, of course, and the Sharon Tate murders and so on. Now, years later, Harrison claimed that Lennon had called him a week before his assassination, frantically confessing that he could no longer hide the truth, intended to go to the public with the deception about Paul. Tragically, John Lennon was killed before he could act. So here's my other question. If he was speaking to George Harrison saying he can't go on anymore, he wants to tell everybody the truth, but he was killed a week later, did Harrison go in and spill the beans? Because if it's a conversation just between the two of them.
I don't know. But then again, right? Like, then you can get real crazy conspiracy. How do you know? Because most people that are that famous usually have a handler. They have doubles, definitely. Even world leaders do. But
Yeah.
excuse me, how do we know their apartments weren't bugged or whatever too? So
That's
they're
true.
having this
Yeah.
conversation on the phone,
Yeah.
and those that were controlling said, "Oh, we got to take care of that. That can't come out."
Hmm. Yeah, you see, that's also a very strong possibility. And then it
Mhm.
talks about, 20 years later, Harrison faced a near fatal attack in
Right.
1999. Okay. So we see that. That's what we talked about. Broke into his home and stabbed him multiple times in the chest. He later revealed that he had considered exposing the secret of Paul's replacement, but had only confided in one person, Paul McCartney, AKA Billy. So,
Mhm.
and Billy's got a good lifestyle going. He's not going to want anybody to know this. So,
No,
it stands to reason that
maybe it was Billy.
maybe it was Billy.
And he would be connected to some of the alphabet soup organizations, because if he really was the replacement for Paul, having the surgery, having everything, you want to bet he had handlers as well as contacts to call the higher ups, eh?
I would think so as well. That would make perfect sense. George is also on record saying, "You can be standing right in front of the truth and not necessarily see it, and people only get it when they're ready to get it."
Mhm.
Right? And then he had more comments along the lines of saying, "We all loved Paul
Loved.
very much, as though he was speaking about his beloved friend and band member in a past tense. When the world understood he was very much alive."
Yes.
Right?
And
Mhm.
Wayne says coincidentally killed just before revealing the truth. And he's got coincidentally in quotation marks. That's right,
Yeah.
Wayne. I'm with you on
Yeah.
that.
Funny how things happen, though, isn't it?
Yes.
So, striking footnote to the two assassination attempts, one successful, the other not, lies in Billy's reaction to Lennon's death, which was captured on a video and is still available on YouTube. In the footage, he appears unnervingly detached, chewing gum as he responds to reporters with no emotion, simply saying, "Yeah, it's a drag, isn't it?" And he later just claimed that he was in shock, and many found his response to be very cold and indifferent. So, that that would speak volumes to
And it was
me.
rumored they didn't get along. Like,
No.
yeah, they were
Well, I
besties
mean, isn't
before.
Lennon the one that coined the name Faul? Wasn't it
Yes.
Lennon?
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
okay. I guess that would be a clear sign of no. The fall,
But they
fake
were
fall.
best mates, as it was written from grade school practically onwards. And then it seems like their relationship sort of shifted too within a year or two of the supposed accident.
Right.
Hmm.
There we go.
Hmm.
Oh, so unsurprisingly, in his memoirs, the release of the remastered Beatles catalog, strategically arranged for 090909, a date that represents the inverse of 666. So they
Hmm.
appear to have pledged allegiance to said company, right there, guys, the British cabal, which is synonymous with the Illuminati from earliest days. So we'll go through that a little bit here. We'll just sort of get down to the bottom. The lyrics to the 1968 song "Revolution" reflects this goal and sound as relevant today as it did then. Question mark. So you say you want a revolution. Well, we all want to change the world. You tell me that it's an evolution. Well, we all want to change the world. You say you'll change the Constitution, and that reflects to emergence of a new world order.
Hmm.
So there's a hint.
Yep.
Another one. So this is a big one for me right here. Is this album
Yeah,
cover?
but that is gross.
It is, and here's the album. Okay. And even back then, they talk about, as you can see, if you guys can just see me underlining this, okay, because I can't flag this. I just really can't. But here we go. Okay. So this line right over here, right there.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we're going to leave that right there for you guys. But here is the album. Yesterday and today. Here we are.
Wow. Like what? Like why?
Uh-huh.
That would be my biggest thing. Why? Like why would you? But then again, that makes me almost think of Lady Gaga when she came out when she was a new artist and wearing her meat dress with meat.
Mhm.
It looked like why would you do that? Like what would be the purpose of that? I don't understand it.
Mhm. There we go. So here it is, essentially. So it's a bit disturbing.
A bit,
And they call it the butcher cover.
I'll say.
Yeah. So similarly, in promotional photos for Yellow Submarine, we see further signs of their familiarity with what we now recognize as a certain symbolism right here. Okay.
Signs.
So
Mhm.
here we have this right here. And we see this all over the place now, don't we? With a lot of celebrities.
Or this covering
Mhm.
the eye, or
Mhm.
to make the 3 sixes like that, but they go together to make 666. Yep.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Right. And here we have it. So we're looking at this. And again, the practice of covering one eye subtly depicted them in the 1963 album with the Beatles. Here we go.
Yep.
Right. So symbolically here.
And would you ever think looking at that, like I've seen that cover before, and I would never have thought about it till like I'm really glad Andrew Gough wrote this
Mhm.
article
Mhm.
because he kind of put a lot of these things together, and
He did.
between the lyrics and the songs and all this stuff, like some of this stuff you can say, yeah, you're twisting the narrative, but there's a lot of stuff in here that you can't really even twist the narrative with.
Well, they can't fudge the album covers. They're here. It's
No,
just what pictures of the
exactly.
album covers. It's stuff that you can find it all over the place. It's not like it isn't, It's not like it's
Yeah.
not there. And again, he's very objective. Like it's not like he's like, this is a thing. He's like,
Yes.
okay, I don't know if this is a thing, but here's what I found.
Yeah.
Here's what I found.
Kev,
Yeah, very much so, Kevin.
yeah, that's
Very
what
much
Kerrilynn says.
so.
That's pretty disturbing with the babies.
Oh my
It's
gosh. For sure it is. For sure it is. And here we go again with the one eye being covered,
yeah.
you know.
Mhm.
Um so they use the one eye a lot. And here is the rest of the industry or a lot of people in the industry
A
doing
lot.
the same idea, right? So it's this unsettling imagery serves as a stark reminder of darker forces at play. So
Mhm.
this is a whole other world. So then the Let It Be album is also of interest as just one of many photos that show a band dressed in similar fashion, except for Paul, who is depicted in blood red, apparently.
Like,
Blood
as
red
I kept reading this, like,
memoirs.
it can happen. There's
In
no
the
such thing
background.
as coincidences, we know, but, like, every album cover, there's something weird about Paul, always.
Mhm. Yeah, it
Mm.
does. And if you look at it, this Let It Be, right, where he says the right side of this is in the memoirs, Billy's memoirs. It goes, representing Paul's head being smashed. The right side of my face is lost in a shadow on the Let It Be cover, just as the other half of Paul's face is shadowed on their first album. Let It Be picture is given with a blood red background, making it stand out from the others. And you can see again, right?
Oh my
So there's that. Um, Billy continues to showcase certain symbolism even to this day. So
yeah.
during his appearance on the UK's popular Jonathan Ross show, he unmistakably makes the gesture right there.
That
And
got me, that picture, that got me.
yeah, it says it
Mhm.
right there.
Like,
Right
there's
there.
no mistaking that symbol. Like,
No.
that's not an accident.
No, because you see, even today, you see many of them doing that
Yeah,
sort of thing when they're just standing there doing crazy these the exact symbols like this or like this or it's pretty much the same.
yeah,
So,
I agree.
and here we go, right there we are again,
Yep.
and this is recent right there,
Mhm.
right? So, so as a side note, Billy highlights in his memoirs the echoes of this right here.
Mhm.
Agenda can be found in John's most cherished solo work. In the 1971 song, Imagine, beloved by multiple generations, the song takes a new meaning with
Mhm.
our understanding of the Beatles' monarch
Programming.
programming, right?
Yeah.
So we get into that. And with Imagine, and and I see it's interesting to see all of this being added after as we go along, because this
Mhm.
is what we're living right now. But you look at the song, Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger, a brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. And I hope someday you'll join us and the world will live as one. So we're getting into again the whole right there.
Do you know what this reminded me of during COVID? Remember during, we'll say, the last
Yeah.
5 years or 5 years
Yes.
ago, that
Yes.
right when it first came out, all these celebrities were at home alone. So they all recorded singing one line of the song Imagine. And I kept thinking, oh, dear God. And we all thought it was so touching. I wasn't impressed with it, if you kind of know what's going on. But still, so many people were going on and on about it because they didn't have their
Mhm.
glam. They were just pretending they were at home and singing the whole version of Imagine. Did you
See,
see that?
I did not.
Yeah,
No.
they I remember Gal Gadot, there was Will Ferrell, there was a whole big name Hollywood and musicians all singing one line of that song.
It gets more interesting. I mean, all the world's a stage. I always say it. There's just something there. But Wayne makes a good point, right? Let it be is another word for saying drop it.
Absolutely. And I like that song.
I know. I know. I mean, as when you read between the lines, knowing what you know, and I'm sure there are loads of songs out there from numerous artists because they have to put it in plain sight, don't they?
Always. Mhm.
Right?
Well, what I've been saying with we'll call them the Jeffy files, that I'm noticing, like, why there's not a bigger uproar about what's been released. And it just goes to prove to me that, and it's with no disrespect, but people are so busy, they only read a line or two of a headline because it takes a lot of effort and time to dig into it and take a look. Because,
Mhm.
and the other thing I've been saying too is, even if people did, most people who are human beings can't even fathom that level of depravity and evil, right? So I've heard so many people say it's not real, it's made up, because most decent human beings wouldn't do these type of things, right?
It's easier. It's also easier to lean towards that, you know? I
Mhm.
could see it. I mean, my gosh, this is not something you just don't want to know that this sort of stuff exists, and right now it's constantly being put out there. Like,
Yeah.
in light from the time when we did the last like, the first part of this and this one, and from the first time I read this article, now I'm sitting there going, "Huh." I can just see everything else. And you realize just how long it has been happening for. Um, so when we get into here, it goes, what was Lennon so upset about? He and Paul had an idyllic relationship and had been best friends before puberty. Did he resent Billy's takeover of the band? Was he upset that Billy broke their agreement? That he would stop using Paul's identity once the Beatles
Yeah.
dissolved, right? That did not happen. So
Mhm.
in his memoirs, Billy states, until now, I have been silent about much of this. That does not mean he did not hurt me. He did. I realized the Beatles would have stopped entirely before Sgt. Pepper if I had not come along and given the band my all. I deserve more respect than I ever received from any of them. And many of them went solo as well.
Well, the other thing I was just thinking, even if the truth did come out,
Mhm.
he looks like Paul McCartney. He sounds like Paul McCartney. Like, where are you going to go so people never see you again if the truth came out? I can kind of see why he didn't want the truth to come out.
Mhm.
Plus, what's it going to prove nowadays, anyways? Right? Like, it's not going to change anything. The
No.
music's not going to change. But
Mhm.
like he said, and I understand there's two sides to the story, and then there's a truth in the middle.
Mhm.
But yeah, it kind of sounded like this with other research I've done. No, he was not well accepted into into the band, and you can't blame them. I wouldn't.
No.
If you had a band with 4 of your closest friends and one of them passes away and the powers that be decide they're going to remake them.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. But I mean, I guess it gets really convoluted, you know. I mean, it just everything twists and turns here. And I think the more the Beatles itself was an entity governed with many hands in the pot, you didn't have a whole lot of options. You know, I mean, what is he going to do? Maybe he was threatened. So you're just going to keep it up, because he still went on to be the money-making machine. He still is.
He still is. That's right.
You know? So George is on record as saying, we were all quite happy until 1966 when this experience happened. After that, everything seemed like hard work. Just what was George alluding to? George was very close to Paul. It even had Paul stand as his best man in his 1966 wedding to Pattie Boyd. George alludes to missing Paul and how the presence of a substitute ultimately left him cold in several of his songs. And it goes, we were talking about the love that's gone so cold and the people who gain the world and lose their soul. They don't know, they can't see. Are you one of them? And that's Within You, Without You, Sgt. Pepper's. And then on the White Album, it goes, the love that's there sleeping while my guitar gently weeps. 1968 from the White Album.
I have a video. I think we've shown it on some previous shows. There's one of George Harrison's wife calling him Billy, right?
Yes.
Backstage. But I have another one of George Harrison. It was way back in the day, and they're being filmed, and he's calling him William instead of Paul.
That's a very big difference, isn't it?
It's an old video. It's not like a new video. So there you go.
See, right there. There's a big difference between, you know, Paul and William. Let's face it, right?
Yeah, it's not like you can screw that one up.
Exactly. So Jane Asher, Paul's long-term girlfriend, returned from a theater tour in the U.S. to find that Paul had become Billy. Although shocking, it wasn't entirely surprising, as she had been aware of Paul's unsettling dreams. The relationship continued. Then it gets on to we'll get more convoluted stuff. But Billy and Linda Eastman shared a long and seemingly happy marriage until Linda's death from cancer in 1998. So again, there was no. Of course, Billy wasn't going to stay with Paul's girlfriend. I mean, you know, just because Paul loved her and may have been attracted to her doesn't mean that Billy himself felt the same way. And he met someone else and fell in love with her. So right there. And then, of course, they went on to have Paul McCartney Wings and so on. But apparently, rumors persisted that Linda had blackmailed Billy into marriage with compromising photos she had taken, evidence that would support or supposedly prove Paul and Billy were not the same person. Right? So anyway, it goes on to the different people that he married and so on and so forth. But even Heather Mills speaks about knowledge of Billy's secret.
What she says in here.
Yeah. Right? And that's what she said. He goes, you know why I left you. Protect me and I will say nothing. Something so awful happened. Someone I loved for a long time, I found out had betrayed me immensely. And I don't mean infidelity or anything like that. Beyond belief, I have to protect myself. People don't want to know what the truth is because they could never have handled it. They would be too devastated. So, you know, people were coming in and they were, I mean, I could see being blackmailed for sure. I could see, you know.
You would think that one of his kids might come out, and he had a kid with Heather. I know that too, but he has all adult. Like his daughter is quite famous, Stella McCartney. She's a designer. The other kids, I don't think not so much. But you think somebody would come out and say something now?
Yes, but well, he's still alive too, right? Which makes it really, really tough.
Probably be like Jimmy Savile after they're no longer walking on this.
Yeah, then everything comes out. So the man in wings was not Paul. In his memoirs, Billy shares that after Elton John, or after John informed Elton John and Bernie Taupin about Paul's death, they wrote the opening song of Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, an atmospheric instrumental known as Funeral for a Friend, as a tribute to him. So I see a lot of people knew about this. So, I don't know. So yeah, on the big screen, they showed us a sun, but not as bright in life as the real one. It's never quite the same as the real one. The phoenix bird will leave this world to fly. If the phoenix bird can fly, then so can I. That's the gray seal. Goodbye, Yellow Brick Road. So then we have the bizarre incident where Paul's brother, Mike McCartney, appeared on the popular Mike Douglas show in November 26, 69, and sat in the audience. And Mike Douglas turned and said to him, here's the interview. Mike Douglas says, when was the last time you saw your brother? And Mike McCartney says, was his funeral, I think. Douglas is like, really? When was the last time? McCartney says, I don't know. Apparently stalling for an answer. Douglas says, you don't know. McCartney says, yeah, before I came.
Like, what kind of answer is that? Like, when I read that, I'm going, what do you mean before you came? Like, I can't even, like, how does that even fit in there with what you were asked?
I know.
Did you go to the funeral before you came to the Mike Douglas show? Or did you, like, what are you talking about, dude?
Like, what do you mean? So, but, I mean, okay, so Mei Feng Yipeng, who worked as a personal assistant to John Lennon, later became his girlfriend after John and Yoko split. She's on record as saying the three of the main Beatles, which of course was George, Ringo, and John. A further interview, Ringo proclaimed, he goes, I'm the last remaining Beatle.
I was just going to add this part above because I think it's important too, if that's okay, Michelle.
Yeah, of course.
U.S. talk show hosts Jimmy Fallon and David Letterman have repeatedly made fun of Billy when he appeared on their shows, questioning his identity, and Jimmy Fallon even saying, you are really one of the best Paul McCartney impersonators I've ever seen.
Right there.
Yep.
The whole world knew.
I know.
The whole world knew. So Ringo allegedly dropped a bomb, the Hollywood Inquirer 2015, right when he shared that Paul died in a car crash on November 9th, 1966.
Yeah.
And he says, when Paul died, we all panicked. We didn't know what to do. And Brian Epstein, our manager, suggested we hire Billy Shears as a temporary solution. It was supposed to only last a week or two, and nobody seemed to notice. We kept playing along. Billy turned out to be a pretty good musician, and he was able to perform almost better than Paul. The only problem is he couldn't get along with John. So he went back and, he just comes out and blaps this off.
Yeah.
Here it is. Yeah. I mean, so Ringo's comments is a revelation. If the story in the interview to be believed is various news outlets have discredited the authenticity of Ringo's confession, and then they would, but wouldn't they? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then here we have the truth, and many others are on record as having greeted the apparent Paul, and we were just talking about this, as Billy, including keyboardist Billy Preston, who recorded with the Beatles on Abbey Road Studio 2. Also, George Harrison's wife, Olivia, who affectionately greets him, right, at a social gathering with Hello, Billy. Yeah. Each has been captured on video and can be viewed on YouTube, which we showed on the last show. Mm-hmm. So you see, it's not like all fudged up. It is there. And in 88, the Beatles were inducted into, I did not know this, into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and Billy was not invited. Read that again. Paul McCartney was not invited.
I didn't know that either till I read this in this article.
Wow. That's a smack in the face, isn't it? So Paul McCartney's father, Jim, died on the 18th of March, 1976. Paul, who loved his father very much, did not attend the funeral. Read that again.
Yeah. Like,
why would you?
I think I still would have went just to keep up appearances personally myself.
Do you think he just didn't care at that point because it's
kind of coming across that way? Like, you know what? He feels like he was mistreated by the other members of the band, allegedly, with this article, and he just probably thought, hey, I'm just going to own this, because there was a few paragraphs in here, sentences alluding to the price that Billy paid was he had to give up his life and assume someone else's. So it was kind of, I got the feeling it's kind of like he felt he was owed this. in a way, you can't blame him, because he did have, if he really is doing this, he had to give up his entire life that he had before this.
He did, but he became a sensation and made more money than he ever would have had. He was a studio performer trying to make it on his own and couldn't.
Mhm.
I mean, if you look at it that way, I think it was a win-win, you know,
But maybe
considerably
he was a
speaking.
narcissist, and you know what I mean? Now that he kind of, that's what this energy feels like to me a bit, and allegedly, because I haven't dug deep into Billy Shears, nor do I know him, but kind of a bit narcissistic in the way, like it's even mentioned here a few times about the other members were very upset with the way he took over the band. And it's kind of like, I gave up, like I seen this in here in a few places, like I gave up my life as Billy, so now yeah, I'm going to take it and run with it. Hi,
Hi,
Kazan.
Kazan.
It's Sri Lanka right now. It's in the middle of the night. So thank you for joining us.
Aw, yeah, been a while. It's always great to see you.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's really tough. And you see that he just does not look like as he got older. Definitely not. Oh,
No.
here we go. Right. In the memoirs of Billy Shears, Billy recounts how a voice analysis intended to confirm his identity as Paul McCartney inadvertently supported the opposite
Yep.
conclusion.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, opposite conclusion. And that's Billy himself saying that in his memoir. So, when the Paul is dead phenomenon swept across the United States in 69, Dr. Henry M. Truby of the University of Miami utilized samples from Beatles songs to create sonograms. He aimed to conduct replicable tests to prove that I am Paul McCartney. Instead, he uncovered evidence that suggests I am not.
Yeah.
His findings illustrated that the voice heard in Yesterday could not belong to the same throat as the voice in Hey Jude. They were fundamentally
Mhm.
different. So I guess that answers that question, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
it, yeah, right there says it
Wait till you
right
see
there.
the fingerprints. You guys wait to hear about the fingerprints coming
All
up.
right. All right, here we go. So, other scientific studies have contributed to the analysis. An Italian forensic team led by Francesco Gavazzani and Gabriello Carleschi conducted a biometric analysis comparing Paul McCartney's facial features before and after 1966. The research revealed discrepancies that could not be explained by error or even attributed to plastic surgery. The significant findings were published in an article, which I cannot say in Italian, but essentially it means Beetle ask who was the Beatle in
Mhm.
the August 2009 issue of Italian Wired magazine, further fueling the controversy surrounding Paul's true identity after
Yeah.
66. In addition to the scientific voice and facial forensic analysis, other critical form of evidence involves DNA. This is where scientific evidence becomes especially compelling. Paul, like the rest of the Beatles, had many romantic liaisons and
Yeah.
fathered several children. One notable case is Philip Paul Cochrane, whose mother, Anita, was paid £5,000 by Epstein, the manager, to keep Paul's paternity a secret.
Mhm.
During his teenage years, while performing at the Cavern Club in Liverpool, Paul met and impregnated Monique Lavalier, resulting in the birth of their daughter, Michelle, on April the 5th, 1960. The experience inspired the song Michelle, which later appeared on the Beatles' 65 album Rubber Soul. So, Erica Hubers was an attractive young woman whose father owned a nightclub on the Hamburg's famous gross. Okay, I don't know, Frey.
Oh, there.
Okay. So anyway, they dated for about a year, conceiving a child in 1962. So this was all way before was what happened. So when the Beatles rose to fame, Erica sought legal counsel in Hamburg, alleging Paul was aware of her pregnancy and had urged her to have an abortion. She claimed Paul was the father of her child, and her lawyer drafted legal documents which were sent to the Beatles in London. He denied responsibility, blah, 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 blah. Could go on. So she took the case, alleging the Beatles management paid her mother £13,000 and 66 to remain silent about her father's identity. So, hence the DNA tests. Both tests returned negative results, definitively proving to a German judge that Paul was not her biological father. As postscripts claim, Benita also pointed out Paul was left-handed, while the signature on legal documents appeared to have been written by a right-handed person. In the memoirs, Billy Shears has claimed that Benita is still pursuing the case and that this was not the only paternity suit involving Paul that Billy had become entangled in. Okay,
And
so
she kind of looks like him. If you look
she
at her
does.
face, she kind of looks like him.
Yes, yes. I was just gonna say that as well.
Were you? Yeah, she does. Yeah.
So then we get into more alongside voice and forensic DNA is the fingerprint verification that Laura Lee mentioned. In 1980, Paul McCartney and Wings set out on a highly anticipated sold-out tour of Japan. However, there was a problem. Paul had attempted to smuggle half a pound of blah, blah, blah marijuana to the country. Promptly arrested. Okay, fingerprints, prior arrest, had a history on file, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So what complicated matters further was that this wasn't Paul's first arrest in Japan. This time he spent over a week in prison. The authorities became increasingly obsessed by a previous incident from a time in Hamburg years earlier. So they looked at, okay, Paul had been arrested for arson. That's crazy.
Nailing a condom to the wall and lighting it on fire.
Oh my God.
What?
So
boys.
I know, boys. Right? So his fingerprints were taken at the time, and these prints, now being compared to the Japanese, did not match those of the man they had in custody, which was Billy. So the Japanese authorities grew suspicious, wondering who the imposter was. And it took the intervention of Scotland Yard to secure Billy's release and quiet the mounting speculation. So Billy failed DNA tests, voice analysis, forensic tests, but his fingerprints also did not match Paul's.
Yes.
Well, so the fool on the hill. So as we get down there. So just trying to see if this is completely relevant. The story asserts that Paul's car crashed into a lamppost. Okay, so we're just popping down back to the accident. Coincidentally, August 66, Jaguar nearly wrecked his Aston Martin while driving with his partner on London's Marylebone Road. I don't know. Marylebone Road.
That sounds good.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
At the time when the air was thick, a tragedy such as Tara Brown's fatal accident, there was certainly no shortage of inspiration for crafting a cover story to involve the fatal car crash. But one must ponder, why would anyone choose to invent such a cover-up with a car crash as a backdrop? Possibilities are compelling. So as we get into that, Billy's memoir, page 231, that slamming door was Brian's, not Paul's. According to the agreed-upon cover story, Paul died from reckless driving after an argument at EMI late that night. However, Paul was not at the studio that night. He already died at 5 a.m. that morning. So the cover story was made to make his death appear accidental. If true, the piece of evidence is a game changer, and curiously, 2-Paul is dead. Theories suggest that Paul died in 66. The story of his death in a car crash was a deliberate misdirection to conceal the unsavory truth that he had been taken out, essentially. The first theory involves George, who, as mentioned earlier, traveled to India in 1966, checked into his hotel. Birmingham reporter who had allegedly been bribed not to reveal details of Paul's death. According to his account, George confided in trusted local Indian friends about the reality of Paul's death and replacement, urging them to publish the truth upon his own death or on the anniversary of Paul's 60th birthday, which led to conspiracy's name 60 if Paul had lived to 60. So the narrative, George alleged that Paul was murdered by, that would be odd, the KKK, who was targeting their manager right there. Arguably the world's most prominent, right there, at the time, a precarious status given to prevailing attitudes. So, okay, we're just going to move it along.
That one I found a little bit crazy, that one conspiracy.
Yeah, it's a bit out there too, but he examines all of them for people to make their own, their own decision. But again, broader cultural clash during the 60s of various groups reacted to the shifting norms, values represented by the band and said company right there. Should the scenario of Paul's murder seem improbable, there was a statement made by said three-letter group. We have ways and means to stop this. Okay. So
Okay.
we're just going to move it on down, get to the bottom slowly here. So Paul, okay. So right here, the 60 if account, which had been hidden, if not removed from the internet, stipulated that Paul was found dead early in the morning, 5 a.m. as the day begins, with his body located next to a white Volkswagen Beetle, a type and color of a car that was later commemorated on the cover of Abbey Road with the license plate. Right there, the 60 if theory claims that 48 hours later, Paul's body was discovered. So a car was found with the word Jude written on it, an apparent inspiration for the song Hey Jude. So suspiciously, in the 60 if scenario, the location of Paul's death was later changed from its original location at the foot of the hill in England to a beach in France. That's a big
Yeah,
jump.
now we're country hopping.
Exactly. There is even a thread in this theory that states that John moved to the U.S. in part to hunt down the members who killed Paul. George stipulates that the penalty for refusing to remain silent was death,
Unaliving. Unaliving.
yeah. Yeah. So, we kind of get into some different stuff there that doesn't really attribute.
Well, these brothers, because he mentioned them a couple times throughout the article, the Cray twins, but this was a really weird conspiracy too that didn't make a lot of sense either to me. Yeah.
Yeah, they admired their manager, Epstein's success, offered him protection at the time when he was made vulnerable to threats. In return, they sought a piece of the Beatles, the world's most lucrative act, and he refused, according to the Glasgow crime kingpin. So they resorted to blackmailing, and basically the Crays were convinced that their association with the Beatles would hurt the band. Thus, they were better off with the blackmail, not management.
Yeah.
So, all of this, Epstein's, their manager, his life ended in 1967, shortly after the Crays' rise to power. And he died of a drug overdose at the age of 32. Though his death was ruled accidental, it raises questions.
Yeah.
So, as we come down along, there seems to be a lot of that involved with all of with the Beatles. It's, again, very convoluted. But another twist to the Paul is dead controversy is a woman named Melanie recently posted on a Beatles discussion forum claiming she witnessed the aftermath of Paul's crash and death, and allegedly occurred on North London Street where he lived, Cavendish Avenue. Here's what she wrote.
Yeah.
As a scared witness, no one believes me. I've seen Paul's bloody body pulled out from his wreck on the 11th of September, 1966, right? Or is that November the 9th? I can't know. The 11th of September.
It's November the 9th, I think.
Okay. It was shortly broadcast on television for a couple of minutes until it got scrapped. But it was an Austin Martin DB6, completely totaled. The police were in complete shock as they told me and my friend to leave the scene. The truth will be revealed. It was around 10:30 p.m. on Sunday. I was walking with my friend to her home, and we saw multiple police lights in the middle of the street on Cavendish Avenue. We were walking along a sidewalk and saw a black vehicle, which I guess was crashed into another vehicle. They pulled a body out. It was wearing a purple-colored shirt. His face was completely bloody. I couldn't capture his features. It was horrifying, but I could clearly see the mop top hair of a Beatle. They told us to leave and made sure that we did. If we assume she is right, refers to November the 9th, which was a Wednesday, not a Sunday, but also the date that Ringo said Paul crashed his car, died. If she's not English, then the date on the 11th September makes sense. Regardless, the woman would have been in her 80s at the time of posting, and her eyewitness account raising the question as someone her age of doing a discussion forum. However, that doesn't necessarily mean her count isn't true.
Yeah.
So Paul and Billy's house on Cavendish Avenue near Abbey's studio. So that's it there. Intriguingly, during John and Yoko's Bed in for Peace in Amsterdam, John is filmed opening fan mail and reading it out loud for the camera. One letter catches his attention that claims to convey a message from the spirit of their manager, reportedly gathered through a Ouija board. The letter was not only warns John that he will be assassinated, but also says Paul McCartney is alive in London, prompting nervous laughter from both John and Yoko. What a peculiar statement. Did Paul fake his own death? Was he seeking an escape from pressures of fame, or did he fear being sacrificed?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So in the end, do you want to add to that?
No, nothing. There's just so many conspiracies. But again, he presented as much as he did his homework on this article.
Yeah, he did. It's very well done. In the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. Satanism is far from a relic of the 60s. It is woven itself into the very fabric of today's music industry. Numerous musicians have emerged revealing these rituals. So I just want to keep flashing certain words. Unfolds in secrecy to secure success of records, albums, tours. And then he's got some names here. But Billy shares, I've been in rooms in the pinnacle of the industry where albums are subjected to demonic prayers. Music is prayed over, invoking darkness before it reaches radio stations and the public. Witnessing this is chilling. So I'll leave it there. So, and again, we're getting into, some of this, right? Which I think we were talking to in the beginning, but this is a big thing. It keeps happening. And then we get into a lot more of what has been currently going on. But as of writing the article, Billy is still actively recording and touring. We have examined both the suggestive and scientific evidence regarding the possibility that Paul McCartney died in or around September of 1966 and was replaced by a look-alike. Considering the strength of evidence, it certainly seems plausible. However, the circumstances of his death remain unclear. Then he goes on to pose certain questions. So we can look at a couple of those. So Paul left the studio in anger on the evening of September 10th. Shortly after he picked up a hitchhiker, was involved in a car crash which reportedly occurred. And again, he's got different streets and such here. So just to save time as we're getting down to the crunch, it just seems that it was near his home, according to an alleged eyewitness. Alternatively, the same scenario is said to have happened on the 9th of November, a theory allegedly confirmed by Ringo in his 2015 interview. So Paul died on a crash on the same motorway on January 7th as he drove to the house owned by or used by Mick Jagger. Paul died in a car crash with Tara Brown in London in December 66. There's a whole pile of dates here. I mean,
there is, yeah. Right?
They bounce around. So he was either murdered, either in England or France.
Yeah.
He's got a whole bunch of this person, this organization, this or this. Was he shaken by the death and cover up of Paul? We don't know. Could the car crash rumor have been a misdirection to steer away attention from three-letter organization here? Should they continue their manhunt? And then we start getting into the craze. So that's a whole other thing. And then there's this theory. Paul faked his own death possibly to escape the sacrifice that would await him for his allegiance to satanic forces. Remember, neither his family nor his manager believed that the body in the morgue was his. And the letter that John later read on camera said that Paul was still alive in London. What a curious thing to say when the world believes that he was alive. Further that, the internet is rife with videos of a man some claim to be the original Paul McCartney, a man who looks like an authentic version of an elderly Paul McCartney. I did not know that either.
I didn't know that either. No.
Right. So, in conclusion, the theory surrounding Paul McCartney's alleged death in '66 continues to captivate and ignite passionate debate among fans and skeptics alike. Whether you embrace the various scenarios or dismiss them as mere speculation, the enduring fascination with this mystery reflects the profound impact of the Beatles and their music have had on our culture. Our culture. How many generations has this spanned?
True.
Right? It's difficult to overlook the compelling evidence suggesting the existence of two Paul McCartneys with confessions of firsthand accounts. I really lean to Billy Shears' memoirs. He says it. He's just coming out and saying it.
I do too. Between the music, the covers on the albums,
And
the people that have dropped little hints here and there, like I don't know, like, and again, I forget where I heard this. Maybe it was with Charlie Kirk, because I've really been digging into this case. And the people, TP USA or Turning Point USA, Charlie's organization, has been saying there's no way that could happen. Do you know how many people have to be involved? Well, not that many people do. If you've got people at the top that have money and are powerful, they're going to control the people below you, right? So I don't know.
Yeah. I agree. I completely agree with you. It's one of those things I think that will continue on, and who knows, maybe if Billy passes, maybe if there is a Paul McCartney, he will come out and say, I'm here. I personally think if he did fake his own death out of fear or went into witness protection or anything like that, I think he would still be leery about coming forward, because how could you not? You would still be a target.
I agree. Well, what I was thinking, if he faked his own death and then he came out, it just flashed through my head. Are we going to end up with the McCartney effect instead of the Mandela effect? How that all started? We all thought Nelson Mandela died, and then all of a sudden he's alive, and then that's what started all of this.
I know. So it's definitely something that could just keep going around and around and around. I mean, I love a good mystery.
Yes,
I do.
Yeah.
But when the person involved, I mean, whether Paul died, whether he just disappeared, whether he was murdered, whatever the case may be, when you have the main character saying, this is a thing, and you have all people around him calling him by his real name, doesn't that somehow lend to the mystery being solved from the horse's mouth?
And the video clips that I found, it wasn't like they were in a joking scenario where they're calling him William. Like, I remember the one that we showed, I think it was when we were on Beyond the Outer Realm. It was Olivia and George Harrison and Ringo Starr and Barbara Bach, I think. And they were meeting up with Paul McCartney backstage. And as he shakes Olivia's hand, she says, clear as a bell, hello, Billy. And there's many video clips from different things like that. But the one that got me was George Harrison and him. I think they were writing songs. Like, it looks like something that would have been filmed in about the 70s, like mid 70s by the quality. And George calls Paul McCartney William, like he's addressing him. And I forget, he made some kind of statement. It was just a clip. So why would they do that, right?
No, that's what I'm saying. Everybody around him. And what about that clip that surfaced? Did you see the clip where it was in and around Christmas? And this is probably going back maybe 3 years ago, maybe, give or take. And Paul McCartney is coming out of a restaurant. And the caption is like, watch who's coming out behind him. This guy is a dead ringer, pardon the pun, is a dead ringer for what would be an older John Lennon.
No way. I have not seen that.
You have to find it. I saw that and went, oh, come on. Like, come on. This is too much.
Wow.
I saw it probably about a year and a half ago. And it's just, how things come up on the feed on social media. Yeah. It came up and like, okay, I think the caption was, what do you guys make of this? Looking for honest opinions, right? Everybody was saying, oh my God, that would be an older John Lennon. Now with AI, I'm sure they'd be able to do
Oh,
facial
yeah,
recognition.
absolutely. But still,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've seen a clip, and again, this is before AI, and it was very sad. We lost two celebrities the day Michael Jackson died. We lost Michael Jackson and Farrah Fawcett, if you're old enough to remember her. But
Mm-hmm.
I saw a clip a few years after, might have been a year after he had passed away, where some paparazzi followed the ambulance and got a picture of the ambulance. And there's somebody gets out of that ambulance and has a hat on, pulls it down, looks like he
Yes,
thought. You've seen it too, right?
I have.
Yeah.
We're gonna be like just rolling around trying to think of who to put up next for discussion, because there's some really good ones. And can we talk about Kurt Cobain and everything going on with that? There's no doubt that he's passed, obviously. I mean, they're coming out now and saying, oh no, it was a homicide. Like,
Well, there's Chris Todd, I
most
think
of
his
us
name
knew it.
is. I
Yeah.
think his name is Chris Todd, and I'm going to call him, no disrespect to anybody that's short, but he's got short man syndrome when you listen to him talk. Okay. And he's written this book, and he claims he has, this is where this is coming from. He wrote this book, he's released it, and he says he has all the evidence and the interviews to prove that Kurt Cobain was unalived and not by his own hand.
Yeah. See,
Oh, Jim Morrison. Yeah.
Yeah, some of us knew that, but I would love to. I was going to say I would love to do Jim Morrison, but it sounds so wrong on every level. But I would love to talk about it. Yeah, I
But
think
his
so
dad
too.
was in the military. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
No, his dad was a part of the military, Jim Morrison, U.S. military. So when you start connecting the dots, and I'm sorry, you got to follow the money, but also look at their heritage, where they come from. Do they have connections to three-letter agencies, government, right?
You know what? 100%, 100%. I want to add to that. We were helping this family who had a lot of issues, like with attachments and different scenarios, and things that you kind of tap in, you go in, you see, you're kind of like, this doesn't make any sense. And I asked one question: do you have any relation, or blah blah blah, to maybe a family member who's in military? Oh yes, I have. I had a relative that worked at Area 51. Bam.
Hello.
Case closed.
Open the portal doorway.
I know. And you start really putting two and two together, and you just start like, as a researcher, it makes you sort of you realize you have to start asking different questions.
You do.
Questions that you would never think you would have to ask.
But the saying, you got to follow the money, that is true. But
Yes.
You also, again, and Carrie Fast, she's a single Lorilei military family. You do need to connect the dots of what their lineage is, because it is astounding when you start looking at this about who they were connected to, or they're related to.
And starting to look that way, you start realizing, and I'm sure we're going to find some of this as we move along in this series. I'm sure we're going to start seeing similarities surfacing here and there with connections to these different agencies and such, because I don't know how many just regular people that, I'm sure they're out there, everyday people that would be considered irrelevant to higher ups of this nature, but I don't know how many.
Well, I was even thinking like Jimi Hendrix and Mama Cass from the Mamas and the Papas. Those, both of them died under, well, not Jimi Hendrix so much, but there was a rumor that she choked on a sandwich. I know that's not true, but they both got taken out around the same time. They were pretty popular back in the day. What happened to them?
It's a very deep rabbit hole. So it's a very deep rabbit hole. Okay, Lorilei, promote.
Okay, thank you guys. And thank you for having me on.
I love it. I love having you on.
I love it too. This is a great series, and thank you. You guys, I have the Angel Rock on Monday nights, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I did look up my guest. Oh, I'm having Augie Nost on Monday night, and he's always a really interesting.
He's fun. Yes.
Yes, he is. So thank you. And if you guys ever want to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me on any social media platform. I do, or you can hit me up on facebook.com/Angel Rock. And again, thank you for having me on.
Oh, it'd be fun. And next time you're going to catch this next one back on Beyond the Outer Realm. We didn't have the heart to make you guys wait so long for part 2 of this story. It was too good. It was too good. So we thought we would bring it to this show, and we'll bounce around. We'll have some fun with it. But for everybody looking to see what we have coming up next Tuesday on Beyond the Outer Realm, we welcome back Dan Shaw, the Vortex Detective. He's a hoot. Oh, I can connect you with this guy. He's wonderful. We're talking about Sedona, and he talks about vortexes and ley lines and triangles that go through. You know, we're all familiar with like the Bermuda Triangle, things like that. He talks about the ones that go through mountains, different connects mountain ranges and stuff.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So we're talking about Sedona, all the mysterious Sedona, from this whole standpoint of, as I say, you know, geology, geometry, ley lines, everything. It's just going to be awesome. Wednesday, we have Samuel Chong coming back on. He is one of our really early guests, and the Wayback Machine. And we're going to be revisiting a book that he translated, Michel de Marquette's book, the Theouba Prophecy. But we've got a couple of shows coming on with him. But this, I love this book, and our audience has grown exponentially since we got started out. And I was so intrigued with it then, and being a little bit more versed now, having been doing this for several years later, I really want to revisit it and dig a little bit deeper into it. So it's a true story of travel through time and space to the Golden Planet. And this is what this book, the Theouba Prophecy, is about. Just amazing. So he's coming on Thursday.
Wow.
Oh, he's great. You love this guy. He's really wonderful. So kind, so soft spoken. Marilyn Hughes returns from outofbodytravel.org. She's been on several times throughout the years. Also, this discussion is going to be around her book, Aliens of the Redemption. So we're going to be digging into that whole side of things, and it's going to be a lot of fun. She's wonderful. Everybody loves her. We love her. So that's on Thursday. So thank you all for tuning in, and, you know, have a great weekend. And for those of you like Lorilei who's stuck in the snow, take shelter. 50 centimeters. Take shelter.
It's still coming down. Like, I swear to God, this high I was in a t-shirt 2 days ago outside.
There you go. Mother Nature's like, no, and you wonder why you're sick. It's the weather. It's the weather. Anyway, everybody, to everyone in chat, thank you all so very much. You've been listening, of course, to The Outer Realm with myself and Lorilei Potvin, United Public Radio Network 105.3 FM from the Gulf Coast, 107.7 FM from New Orleans. And thank you to Folgers. Thank you so much to Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon, Justin Snicker. Thank you to Steve McGinnis. We appreciate you all so very much. And we appreciate you in chat as well. Thank you and good night.
Night.